I really believe that the peace and joy that we should have is on the other side of fear. Like it's not a straight path, right? We have to go through some things in order to get where we really want to be. There's like obstacles.
Hello, you are listening to the Late Bloomer Living podcast. I'm Yvonne Marchese, your host, and I'm so happy you're here. I created this podcast to give you inspiration and let you know you're not alone in feeling stuck in midlife. I also invite you to join the Age Agitators Club for women, where we come together monthly to hatch our plans for making waves as we age. Being part of this community for women will remind you on a regular basis that you're not too old and it's never too late to do that thing you've been thinking about. You can find more information at latebloomerliving.com/community, and I hope to see you there. Hello, my friend. I am very excited to bring you my guest today. Her name is Robin Muhammad. There's a lot of fear that goes into making the decision to make a large leap of faith. And I'm really excited to talk to Robin about that. But beyond that, I mean, she's also got some really cool stuff to talk about regarding the business that she runs. She is the founder of Necessary Nutrition Incorporated. She currently helps women in midlife determine what to eat. And isn't that like really confusing at this point? You get so many different points of view in the media and everywhere. And it's like, what do I do? But she helps women with those concerns related to perimenopause and menopause. She made a huge shift in her life in her late 40s to follow her heart, leave everything behind that she knew, financial stability, the whole thing. Yikes. I'm biting my nails already, right? She moved from the West Coast, where she was very happy with where she was, to the East Coast for love. And she got married for the first time. So this is going to be an exciting conversation. Robin, thank you so much for being with me today.
I'm so excited. And I'm like, you're really good at this. I'm listening to you and I'm like, I can't wait to hear. You have me so enthralled.
You're like, who is this Robin Muhammad? She sounds amazing.
I'm like, I want to really hear this. Oh my goodness. Yes, I'm so happy to be here to talk about. This is like one of my favorite things to talk about. Most of the time I'm talking about nutrition, but I love to talk about this because as a woman in midlife, we inspire each other. And when I think about what I did, I'm like, wow, I did something big. And so I hope that those listening can, I would say, you want to do something, but you're afraid to do it. I hope this encourages you to really feel the fear and do it anyway. With sensibilities about you. I mean, it's like be mindful. I mean, really look at the pros and the cons and all of those things, but don't let fear stop you from living out your truth and your heart's desire.
Yeah. What were some of the fears that you had to overcome? I mean, I hear one of the things you mentioned in sending information over to me and that we talked about as well was that financial insecurity, which is no small thing.
Yeah. So I'll say this, I lived in a upper middle class neighborhood and I had a daughter who's now 19. I was with her father for quite a long time and he was well off. And to decide to leave him meant that I would not be well off as I was with him. So he brought a lot of amenities to my life. And making the decision to leave meant I was leaving stability and amenities. And I remember turning 40, so I'm almost 50, but I remember turning 40 thinking, this isn't the life that I would have imagined for myself. Like I have everything, but I'm really empty. And that's hard because it's like from the outside looking in, people want your life, but you don't want your life. And it's just difficult. But yeah, that was the financial part is I was set. I could buy anything, I could go anywhere, I could do all the things. And I decided to leave that. And seriously, it wasn't like I left and then it all worked out. Like I really had some struggle. I really did. Yeah.
Yeah. And you had a daughter that you were raising. I imagine that's difficult.
Very difficult. So my goal, like a lot of moms, you don't want to break up a family. And so I thought honestly, and I don't recommend this, but I thought, oh, I'll when my daughter is 18, I'll leave. So for 18 years, I knew that I was in out of alignment, but I wanted to because my again, my with came with that relationship also came with amenities for my daughter. She had the best life and all the things. And as a mom, you want your child to have all the things that you didn't have. So I was willing to, I don't want to say suffer through it, but I was willing to be in that space until she was 18. So that was my intent, is to stay until she was 18. So we were in a relationship and I did not make it until she was 18. I tried. I
Yeah.
tried. I
Yeah.
did. I did. Yeah.
It's so hard once you get kids involved in something like that. That's, you know, that relation, it's not just you and
It's
him.
not
It's
a unit.
that bigger family picture.
And there was nothing really wrong, meaning that he wasn't abusing me, physically or anything like that. There were a lot of things wrong, but it wasn't wrong. Like when I decided to leave, he was like, "Well, why? Like, why would you do this?" But
You know, that
it,
almost makes it harder
yes,
because it's hard then. You mentioned being fearful of what other people think of you because they look at your
yeah,
life and think
yeah,
you've got it made,
yep,
and
yep,
well, what more do you want? You
yeah,
know, what you have, how can you do that? And there's a lot that goes into like I'm at, I was married before
mm-hmm,
and too young, and that played into it for me.
mm-hmm,
And there were no children involved in the matter, but it came to a point when I realized that I needed to cut free. And it's
yes,
a
cut
very,
free,
very hard place to come from,
mm-hmm,
to have to make the decision that you know is best for you
yes.
to be
It
fully, to be the full version of yourself.
it's like I have to cut free. So I have to cut free and knowing that cutting free is going to leave behind this financial stability or these amenities. Then cutting free means that I'm disrupting my daughter's life. That
Hmm.
she lived in a seemingly fairy tale mother, my mommy, daddy life, and all of her friends with their moms and dads, that whole life, that TV, white picket fence, whatever it is, that life, knowing that it wasn't right for me. And the biggest thing was I was willing to suffer through it, if you will. But the day that my daughter looked into my eyes and asked me, because I thought I was masking it very well, but she asked me, "Why am I so sad?" And that's when I'm like, oh my goodness, I think I'm maybe doing my daughter a disservice because if she's looking at me, looking to see that I'm so sad, then she notices. And what message are we sending to those that are watching, especially for her, if she sees me sad, but I'm still going to stay? So I decided, not easily, to leave. And the thing that took me for a loop was I thought that my daughter would come along. I thought she would come along. She was maybe 15 when I really left the house. I thought she would come. She did not. She's like, and it's funny because I think about it now. She's like, I'm not leaving a nice big house to go live in an apartment. Like, why would I do that? so so she stayed, which was it was it was jarring, but honestly, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And I'll tell you why, but it was totally unexpected. And as a mom, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, like this kind of backfired. I didn't expect to, I thought she would live with me, and then I lived close enough where she could still see her dad, but it was literally like she stayed where she was, and it was just me. No, I left no towels, no sheets, not a spoon, not a fork, and then not even enough income to manage the California prices at that time. I
Yeah.
had my business. I had my business, but I had let the business uh, die out a lot because again, I was taken care of, so I didn't have that necessary the drive to do it. So I took that leap, and then again, my daughter didn't go with me. So, but what happened? I remember getting the keys to my apartment and just laying on the floor with no furniture, just crying because I'm like 40, mid 40s, and I don't have shit. That's what I was thinking. Excuse my French. You might have to, I don't know if you're gonna edit that, but I'm like,
That's all right. Yeah.
I don't even have anything. Like, what the heck? Like, this isn't what I thought it would be. I'm like, I have nothing. But I have peace of mind, if that makes sense. I have peace of mind. I have this apartment, I have these beautiful windows, and I'm gonna look out the window and figure out what to do. But I did
Wow.
it.
And
Yeah.
so you stayed on the West Coast to be close to your daughter for how long?
I stayed. So let me interject and say that 30 years ago, I met my now husband. So 30 years ago, the seed was being planted. So we were in college and we met, and circumstances did not allow for us to be together, but he was always in my heart, in my soul, in my spirit. And when my daughter turned 18, I moved. So that's when the big pivot. So it was like these big, big changes leading up to a bigger one. But when she turned 18, I packed up whatever I did have, because remember, I didn't have that much, and I moved from Riverside, California to Baltimore, Maryland, 3,000 miles
Wow. That's a big change.
to marry, the love of my life, to which we never lived together, and we never spent more than 3 weeks together ever.
Wow.
Imagine. Yes.
So you met in college, and did you
Yes.
stay in touch continually through over
Yes.
the, yeah?
Yes. So we knew. So part of the reason why the relationship that I was in with my child's father was never going to work is because my heart was always with my husband, my now husband. I was always in love with him, always. So, but it just was, we lived 3,000 miles apart, all kinds of life happens, and we just couldn't get together. We just lived too far apart, and he had children. There was just so many obstacles, but I was in love with him the whole time. So it wasn't like we lost touch and then we rekindled. We were in touch and best friends, in fact, the whole entire time. So it's a 30-year love story. And we said that if it were meant to be, that when my daughter turned 18, that we would marry and I would move. I didn't make it till she was 18 because I just couldn't, but that was the plan. That was the plan.
Wow. And
Yeah.
so he had other kids and was married or
Yep.
not married? Yeah.
He was married, a single father. So that marriage didn't work out. And interestingly enough, when it didn't work out, I thought, okay, this is our chance. So that marriage ended 14 years ago. And then I thought, okay, his marriage is ended. This is when I'm going to get out. My daughter's 5, but it couldn't happen. My daughter, it's like, as a mom, I'm like, what am I going to do? I can't rip my daughter away from her life and take her away from her father and move 3,000 miles away. So he was divorced, and I I didn't leave. It just wasn't the right time to do that. So he was free and available and waiting for me or wanting me, and I didn't. So I just broke some hearts, I think, and I didn't get to come. So
Yeah.
I stayed. Yeah, I did. So the love of my life, and I know who he is. I know what it is, and I'm staying for my daughter. I probably cried every day for 1 year, and it was from like 2010 to 2011. I just cried every single day.
Wow.
It's like it's like being in a glass house. Like I can see my life, I can see other things outside of it, but I'm stuck inside of this world that I created. It wasn't no one forced me into it. I had a daughter by a man that I was with, and we had a life, and it was very intertwined and all of the things. And I knew I was in love with someone else that lived 3,000 miles away. And the other thing is, love is tricky. And I really want to say this because when you only see somebody every now and then and you only see them for a short amount of time, it's going to be euphoric. It just is a part of
Mm.
the system. And so
Mm.
you have to be able to ascertain, is this real, or is
Mm.
this love fairy dust on this? And that's the part, in the fear of all of this, I had to ask myself, is this real or is this a fantasy? Like this has been going on for 30 years, but I've never lived with him. I've never spent more than 3 weeks with him. How is this going to be when I live with him, married? Because for him, there was no moving in this house if we weren't married, out of the question. So then I'm thinking, oh my goodness, like, am I stuck? Like, I really had to think, do I have my sensibilities about this? Am I doing the right thing? Getting married, moving across the country, leaving my daughter to marry and never have been with him more than 3 weeks?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
that sounds crazy.
yeah.
It
So
does.
did you have feelings about marriage
I
as
had,
an
uh,
institution? Because you weren't married to your daughter's
correct,
father, right?
correct, correct. I
Was
didn't
that
want
a
to.
stumbling block for you in and of itself?
I didn't want to be married. I did not. Because to me, marriage was, and this, anything that we do and we feel, it's in some ways it's rooted in something perhaps traumatic from your childhood. Like we're old enough to know that who we are today is because of what happened to us in the past. So I never wanted to be married at all. And so I did not get married. And so when I did get married, I was 48 years old, but I really, really was not a fan at all. So think about this. I didn't want to get married. I actually had a fear on my wedding day. You would have thought I cried like a crazy person. I was crying and shaking because in my mind, it's like this institution that's going to trap me. It's like I had a whole story about it in my head. And yeah, and I always tell him now, like, let's get married again. Like I want to do it again because the first one I was just crazy,
You're
just
like, I couldn't
crying.
even enjoy it. I was so scared.
Yeah, I was
Oh my
so scared
gosh.
when
How
they
long have
said,
you been married now?
so it'll be a year in, well, maybe by the time this goes live, it will be a year
Gotcha. And
that we've
how's
been married.
married life?
So this is the thing. It's been a year. Let me just say this before I answer this. This has been the most amazing experience. It's like it's just it's where my heart belongs. It is home to my soul and my spirit. It is like having a slumber party every day with your best friend. And it sounds whimsical, and it's not common. It's not common. I understand that this is meant to be 30 years later. And I used to get butterflies in my stomach whenever I would hear his voice or I would see him. And I was waiting for this to stop. It's like, okay, we're here together. We're doing life together. You put the ketchup out of the refrigerator. I like the ketchup in the refrigerator. Like when we get down to nitty gritty of life, I just expected things to taper off. Every time I see him, my heart goes pitter patter every single day. Like to this hour, he takes my breath away. And so I can't even understand it. So how's Married Life going? If I knew then what I know now, I would have married him before, but I didn't. So here we are. So it's good.
Congratulations on taking the leap.
What a leap.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even I think about it, and I would say this again about fear. I really believe that a couple of things that the peace and joy that we should have is on the other side of fear. Like it's just never, it's not often, it's not a straight path, right? We have to go through some things in order to get where we really want to be. There's like obstacles. So I had to really, really face the fear and just do it anyway. And it really was a fear. Like my stomach would hurt. Like I knew I was doing something huge. So I was afraid to be married. That was one thing. I'm leaving my daughter. I'm leaving this, money. I'm just leaving all these things for what my heart is telling me to do. And not just my heart, it was my gut. It was me sitting quiet and being on a spiritual sense saying, is this right for me? I need a sign. Like I don't want to make a mistake. I want to listen to the voice that's within and really be able to hear it. For 2.5 years, I lived by myself. So my daughter didn't come with me. And I did that because I wanted to know I'm in this apartment by myself, which again, I didn't think I was going to be by myself, but I was. All I got to do was find me. What do I like? What do I not like? I just got to be with myself. No other noise. Like it's just me. What is it like just to be me? I might like it. I might just really enjoy that. And I needed to know, am I better alone? Do I think that I will be a better person in conjunction with someone else? So it was 2.5 years of self-discovery for sure. And it worked out. It was working out.
I'm so glad. So,
Yeah.
so you had a business this whole time, but the business had
Hmm.
gone, you let it rest while you were living and raising your daughter and all that. And
Yeah.
what was it like over those, let's talk about the 2.5 years of that time by yourself. I
Yeah.
imagine at that point you're trying to build that business quickly,
Yes.
as
Yes.
quick as you can, because now you've
Yes.
got the need, right?
Correct.
How did that go, and what did you learn about yourself during that process? Because I'm just going to say business ownership and entrepreneurship, I think, is also living alone is one way to really get to know yourself, and
Yeah.
entrepreneurship is a surefire way to get to know
There you
yourself.
go. I can tell you this. So my business is 16 years old. It's been 16 years, the totality of my business. And what I know for sure is that before, when I had a safety net, right, I was always an entrepreneur with someone else making money too. This was the first time where it was just me.
Mm,
And as an entrepreneur, that's very volatile, and rent in California is very high.
hmm
And so that is when I had the most stomach pains because I'm like, oh my gosh, it's just me. And here is me with my business not making um, very much money.
hmm
This is what I would say to anybody that's an entrepreneur. And this has been my saving grace and the best advice that could give when your business is doing really well, which mine had for so many years. I saved money. So I saved money and I'm a good saver to the point where I had some savings. So I say I had nothing, but I had nothing but my savings, which is helpful. So that allowed me to breathe a little. And then I took on a part-time job where I would work 10 hours, 10 to 20 hours a week, depending. And the part-time job was flexible in that I could come and go as I needed to. And if I needed to do 20 hours, then I could. If I needed just to do 10 hours, then I could. So that it was that's what happened. And I did. I rebuilt. I'm still rebuilding. because things go through it's evolutionary process. My business 16 years ago does not look like the business that it is today. But it was scary. It was scary, and my rent kept going up. Every time. It's like my rent just kept going and going, and I had to decide sometimes, maybe I became very frugal. And what it showed me, so remember when I had all the things, all the cars and the purses and just all the material things, I realized the things I did not need. I realized, oh my gosh, I don't need all the things that I had. And I became very, very frugal. And it almost took me into being a minimalist.
Mm.
So when I moved here, I probably had like 10 boxes and mostly of books and mementos over the years, but I didn't have much and I was free. Because when you're encumbered by things, then you have things to maintain and things to do. And usually at our age, we have a lot of things. We've accumulated things. And I had not at that point. The freedom of just not having all these things that I thought that I needed. I have what I need, but I don't have excess. I don't have all, when you just amass things, you don't really need, you buy stuff. It's just because you can. And to strip down, it's like I stripped down physically with things, and then I was stripped down mentally, and then financially. I just got to know myself. What I would say is it's never too late. That actually is like a powerful thing because we're on a late bloomers podcast. It's never too late to recreate yourself. Because what was playing in my head initially was, oh my goodness, I'm 40, I'm this. And I'm like, I'm just getting started. I think of Colonel Sanders. I think he's like 70 when he started KFC or something like that.
Yeah, he's a late
Yeah.
yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So it's like, you know what? Those that are listening, that, and perhaps there's something that you should do or you need to do or you want to do, but you're letting the life that you've built up until this point stop you. And so that is, I let it all go. But I'm telling you the truth. I had some stomach aches. I was afraid, petrified at times,
Mm-hmm.
but it was worth it. On this side of it was worth it. Like I have no regrets. I have no regrets.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you've mentioned a couple of times in the course of the conversation that even though you've been in business for 16 years, your current business doesn't look like it did in the beginning. So let's talk about that transition. Like what has happened in your business and where did it start and where are you now?
So when it started, I was working with people on weight loss, and that over time, that's a very, very complicated topic, and it's just a huge topic. And what I started to realize statistically, like how many people would actually lose weight and keep it off and all of those things. And then I just felt that I was really out of alignment because what I really wanted to talk about was health and being healthy inside, outside, and all of those things. But the money was coming from weight loss. And that's a part of what made me decide to take a somewhat of a hiatus and then let my then partner be the breadwinner because I was like, there's something out of alignment here. I'm making a ton of money, but I don't really think I'm making the impact because people will pay me to lose weight, but I know that journey is not cut and dry, and most people don't sustain it. And so that's that's what I pushed back because I was just out of alignment and I couldn't figure out how to get into alignment. Because again, people want to talk about weight loss. That's it's like
People want to,
yeah.
it's funny. Everybody wants to lose weight, look younger.
and and that's what the world will push at you. The world is
Right.
like,
Yeah.
and so those are the buzzwords. How can you look younger? How can you do? And so some of it is gimmicky.
Yeah. That's the clickbait stuff that you see out in the world. Those are the ads that, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So, as a business owner, it's hard to figure out your own way to authentically make an
Yeah.
impact. And I kind of hate using that word authentic, but It is. It
Yeah,
does, if you're going to be in alignment, you're speaking a lot about alignment and trying to find that for yourself,
yeah,
both in your personal life and it sounds like in your
correct.
business too, right?
And people would come with, I mean, because we talk about food, there's emotional eating, there's a whole lot that's going into that, in addition to the fact that there's chemicals in the food that's making it very difficult for us to say no. Like those chemicals make your brain light up. So if you're trying to lose weight or do a thing, but you're eating the food that triggers you and makes you want this thing, how are you supposed to win? And I just felt like I was out of alignment in my integrity because I'm like, I know what's happening. And a lot of with I'm a nutritionist and clients will come to me, but it's like, okay, but you might actually need a therapist. Like you think it's food related because that's what you're doing is eating, but it's deeper than that. And I'm like, I'm not a psychologist. And so I that's another thing is knowing people are coming to me with their money to spend it, knowing that their spending is yes, you may need a nutritionist to support you, but you really may need something a little bit deeper. And so I had to step back. I did. And I still had my business. It was still because we produce supplements as well. We produce vitamin D and some other supplements, so that was still going. But I couldn't just like statistically, Yvonne, like if I had 10 customers coming to me with weight loss, 10 of them out of 10, 2 of them, so 4 of them would adhere to something. The rest 6 of them would pay me and just like totally disappear. Like because sometimes you think, oh, if I spend the money, it'll just happen. Then you
Mm.
had 4 left, and only 2 of them. So 20%, 20%, and that might be high, would stick with the recommendations and probably like one of them at the end of the day over time. So 90% are like people are paying me and I
That doesn't feel
know
very good, right? That
it
just
feels
doesn't,
wrong. It
you're making
doesn't because
money, but it doesn't feel good.
yeah,
So what do
because
you do
I
now?
know
How did you change your focus? What's,
I changed my focus. So during the pandemic, something just it's like a voice came to me, and to make a long story short, said focus on vitamin D. I'm like, what? Because we've always had vitamin D in our product line, but it was during COVID where we knew that those that had a lower vitamin D had more struggles with recovery and all of the things with COVID. So I really started to focus on educating on vitamin D. My audience has always been so as I've grown, my audience grows with me. So most of my customers and clients are women in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. And in that space, we're having menopause, perimenopause, postmenopause challenges. And that we definitely, there's so much to be said about that. So my business today is I work specifically with women in the pause phase to help make sure that we're meeting our nutritional needs because there's certain foods that we must have as a woman in midlife and protocols that we must take in order to live and be happy and vibrant and fabulous. And I don't know if people could see us depending on the podcast is visual, but we look good, right? We're in midlife and we look good. And there's something that we must be doing to do that. So my business is solely focused on helping women in midlife mitigate symptoms and concerns related to menopause and perimenopause and postmenopause. And we do that through food and nutrition. And then I also have partners that come in and help us to understand about hormones and natural ways, and HRTs, and all of that. So that's how it's evolved. And then we offer vitamin D, and we help people grow produce. We help people grow their own produce.
really?
Yeah, really. Yeah. Because I feel like, well, I don't just feel like the reality is food is very challenged. And the best way to ensure that you're getting what you need is to grow it. And so I've never had a green thumb and did not want to be out tilling and gardening and things like that. So we grow hydroponically or
Uh-huh.
aeroponically. And so I'm growing produce right now inside of my home, and I help others to do that. It's all about, again, helping women in midlife meet their nutrition needs. And nutrition is like the foundation. It's not the only thing we have to do because we exercise is important and de-stressing and all the things that people always hear. But definitely what to eat is confusing.
Yes.
because of all of the messages. Should I be plant-based? Should I be vegan? Should I not eat meat? Should I eat meat? Like, oh my goodness,
Oh
how
my
does,
gosh. And then there's the blood type diet. And there's a
yeah, and it's
bajillion
like,
different ways to look at
it's
this
a
thing.
fad.
It
Yeah.
is
So it's like,
crazy.
what is really true? And I love to help women figure out what is really true for them. Because what's true for me may not be true for you. You got to figure out what is true, what is sustainable, and what does your body really, really want and like and need.
Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
are you doing it as a group program or one-on-one coaching kind of situations or both?
So yeah, so with the pause plan, it has a live component to it. The meal plan is digital, so that is a digital a product, if you will. But we have a live component, and so our live classes, there are a whole bunch of other women in there, but it's not a group in a sense of you're not really going through this journey with a whole lot of other people. So it's a hybrid, I think, because when you're doing the program, I'm always available to reach out to and connect with. So in that case, you have the pause planners have access to connect with me because I want to be a resource to them. So it's a hybrid of all of that. And the program is 1 year, and it's we do the live programming quarterly because we don't want it to be overwhelming. I mean, this life is overwhelming, and then we also offer classes on demand. Two things I want to say: we had a class because this has actually helped me, so I really want to say this, and this is like important to us as midlife. So I had frequent urination, and then I was experiencing a little bit of what's prolapse. So you can feel
Gotcha. So
parts
your
of your
pelvic health was
yes. So my
suffering. Uh-huh.
pelvic, correct. And I could eat all the broccoli I want to, honey. And that did not stop me from having to go to the bathroom all the time. So we brought in an expert to help us with that. And I can tell you to this day, to this hour, I do not have frequent urination anymore. I also use a squatty potty. So when I go to the bathroom now, I put my feet up and so there's just something that I learned. And if not for being in this space or being a part of the pause plan, because the ladies that are in there were able to get that information just by being a part of the program, and it works. So the information is evolutionary and it is all geared to what we need. Another expert that we have is on EFT tapping, so helping us with anxiety and being able to tap it out and learn how to release. So we're always bringing in experts that serve this midlife community. I just do the nutrition part, but I'm just can't do this alone because we need a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sounds like
So
you've got a really holistic program going on.
yeah,
And
thank you for asking me that because I love to talk about the nutrition side and the health of it. But I also like to talk about the journey. I love to talk about my love life. Like I really do like to talk about that. And so thank you for allowing me to talk about a little bit about all that.
well, we just had such a nice first phone call and getting to know each other, and
Yes,
I knew that there would be something valuable for people in listening to your story. And um, it's difficult to walk your truth. You
very
know,
difficult.
it
Very, very
is it
difficult.
is hard. It is hard to make those kinds of life changing decisions,
It is.
especially when things look good on paper.
And you hurt people when you do that. That's the other thing as women. We're so giving, we're so nurturing that to the idea of hurting someone else, we almost in a lot of cases will to suffer and sacrifice. So in a sense, I hurt my daughter and then her father, uh, he went into a severe depression
Mm,
and started drinking and all of that. And just to think like I was the catalyst to that is very terrible to know that in order for me to live my best life, I have to hurt somebody else is painful,
I'm so
super,
sorry.
super sucky. Um, super sucky. So,
Have you and
but
your
we
daughter, have you guys is it okay for you
yeah,
guys? Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
good.
yeah, we're good. we're good, good, good. I lived around the corner, mind you. So I didn't go that far.
Yeah, right.
I saw her every day. And now,
Yeah.
so she's actually in college, away in college. So she's doing her college life. So almost she's like, mommy, who? Like she's doing her life. You know, when they get to that
Yeah.
age, they're doing
And
their own thing. That's why,
there's something about what you've done that, I mean, yes, these kinds of decisions can cause others pain, but at the
yeah.
same time, you've been living proof for your daughter about
Mm-hmm.
what it means to live the life that, to live
Yes.
life on your own terms. And that
Yes.
is a model for her to
Yes,
stay
ma'am.
true to herself and do what she needs to do to live her best life. So,
Yes. Everybody that's listening to this, you, this is what happened. So also my dad passed away and then my grandmother passed away like within weeks of each other. And that is when I knew that if I don't do these things to live my whole life or live my life in truth, I could actually die and not have lived. And that's when I said, I'm just going to go for it. I know I'm going to create some, you know, kerfuffles and upset people and everything. But if I don't live, I could literally die and not have been happy. And I refuse. And that was my driving force is the death of some loved ones. And I'm like, I'm gonna go live my life. I'm gonna be happy. I don't care who. I'm gonna be happy no matter. And that's what I decided to do. Now, there's no perfection, right? There's no perfection. Like life is lifing for all of us, but we owe it to ourselves. We were created to live full and be happy and be of joy. And ain't nobody gonna stop me from being happy. That's how I feel. Nope.
I'm a believer in that,
Yes. Yes.
because here's the thing, we can try to, you can sacrifice yourself to what looks like the right thing to do. And in the meantime, what was your daughter seeing? She was seeing a sad mother. And she
Sad
may
mother.
never have
Yep.
understood what that sadness was. And then
Mm-hmm.
kids tend to internalize things
They
and
do.
so it's so easy to beat ourselves up over the choices that we make, but in the end, the only thing you can do is be true to yourself.
Only thing. I really feel like in my soul, something my spirit is telling me that there's going to be some women listening to this and they're just going to be able to have the strength to do what they need to do. They're going to, and I say it's not easy. It definitely is not easy, but feel the fear and do it anyway, because on the other side of that fear is the joy that you've been waiting for. It's there. So I really believe someone's going to hear it and shift. I always
And
just
how
feel
do
like,
people find you, Robin? How
how do
do we
people
get in
find
touch
me?
with you?
My website is nessynutri.com. So that's N as in Nancy, E, S as in Sam, S as in Sam, Y, N as in Nancy, U, T as in Tom, RI.com. Nessie Nutri. I am Nessie Nutri on Instagram. My website is nessynutri.com. I'm Nessie Nutri on Facebook. And for those that are listening, there's two things. I always have a class that's complimentary. I have a class up now, depending on when you are listening to it, but the free class is about the food that we need as women in midlife. So you can find that, sign up for that. It's a class on demand. You'll get it right away. If you want to know, like, what should we be eating and why should we be eating it at this stage, you can go to the website and register for that. And then I'm also going to encourage you to just look at the pause plan and see if it makes sense for you to take this journey with us. And I will give you a discount code, Bloomer.
Wow, that's exciting.
Yes, I will do that. And that way you can get a discount on that if that works for you.
Robin, thank you so much for being with us today. And I will have links to all the things in the show notes
Yes,
for your
yes.
program. Thank you for the offer of the discount code. So I will be sure to put that in too. And thank you. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much. It was fun.
Well, there you have it. Robin's path to living authentically serves, I think, as a really powerful reminder that it's never too late to pursue your dreams and find true happiness. It just sometimes requires a whole lot of courage. If you've been moved by Robin's journey and would like to connect with her or learn more about her programs and offerings for women in midlife, please visit her website at nessienutri.com. You can also find a link to her website in the show notes. Just go to latebloomerliving.com/podcast and look for episode 195. And remember, Robin has offered a discount code for anyone listening to this podcast. That code is Bloomer. I love that. I hope Robin's story has resonated with you and inspired you, even in some small way, to embrace your own journey with courage and determination. Because life is about discovering what truly makes you happy. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a fantastic week. And until next time, keep on blooming, baby.